This was the most embarrassing moment of my life in front of the girl of my dreams. All right, Reddit, I've been holding on to this one for too long, and I think it's finally time to share. This is, without a doubt, the most humiliating, gut-wrenching, soul-crushing experience of my entire existence. And the worst part? It happened right in front of the girl I had been crushing on for years. I wish I could say I've recovered, but honestly, I still wake up in cold sweats thinking about it. To set the scene, I was a junior in college, living the awkward, semi-broke student life, but doing my best to seem like I had my act together. I had been obsessed with this girl, let's call her Emily, since freshman year. She was the kind of effortlessly cool, slightly intimidatingly gorgeous person who somehow made everyone feel like they were the most important person in the world when she spoke to them. We had mutual friends, but I had never really managed to get past the occasional group hangout or friendly hey in passing. That is, until one fateful Friday night. A mutual friend was throwing a big party, and for some inexplicable reason, the universe decided to smile upon me. Emily and I actually ended up talking. And I don't mean just small talk, I mean real conversation. She laughed at my jokes, touched my arm at least twice, which in my mind basically meant we were engaged, and at one point leaned in and whispered something to me over the loud music. I don't even remember what she said, but my brain short-circuited. It was happening. Then the mistake. At some point, someone suggested we all go grab some late-night food. It was one of those spontaneous, stupidly exciting ideas that feel legendary in the moment. A small group of us, including Emily, stumbled out of the party and made our way to the nearest 24-hour diner. I was on cloud nine. This was the perfect chance to keep the momentum going. Now here's where my life took a nosedive straight into the pits of despair. The diner was packed, and we somehow managed to squeeze into a corner booth. Emily sat next to me. I was internally screaming but trying to play it cool. We all ordered, and I went with the safe bet, pancakes and eggs. Simple, easy, low risk. But then disaster struck. See, what I didn't realize was that my stomach had been a ticking time bomb from whatever questionable punch I had at the party, and as soon as I took that first glorious bite of pancake, my intestines decided it was time for war. It started with a small, manageable stomach cramp. No big deal, I told myself. Just ride it out. Then it escalated. The pain twisted inside me like some demonic force, and suddenly it felt like every single molecule of food I had ever consumed in my life was about to violently exit my body in some horrifying, unspeakable manner. I started sweating, like profusely. My vision blurred slightly. I forced a smile, nodding along to whatever conversation was happening, but in reality I was calculating every possible exit strategy. The bathroom was across the diner. Getting there would require maneuvering past multiple tables of people, including a rowdy group of guys who looked like they lived in that diner. I was barely holding it together. My body was betraying me in real time, and I needed to act fast. Then the worst possible thing happened. Emily turned to me, smiling, and said, "Are you okay? You look kinda pale." Oh God. Every eye at the table was now on me. The pressure was unbearable. I knew I had two choices: admit I was in gastric distress and excuse myself, or try to play it off and risk whatever horrors my body had in store for me. Like an idiot, I chose the latter. "Oh yeah, I'm fine," I croaked out, sounding about as convincing as a kid trying to fake sick to skip school. I was not fine, and that's when it happened. I don't even know how to explain what my body did next. It was a betrayal of the highest order. A noise, an ungodly, inhuman noise, escaped from my stomach. It was loud. It was grotesque. It was the sound of 1,000 dying souls screaming from the depths of my intestines. Silence fell over the table. I wanted to die. One of my friends started laughing, like wheezing laughing. Another person, a girl I barely knew, looked genuinely horrified, like she had just witnessed a crime scene. And Emily? She blinked, stared at me, then slowly reached for her napkin and put it over her mouth, shaking slightly. It took me a moment to realize she was trying not to laugh. I had a fraction of a second to make a decision, fight or flight. I chose flight. I mumbled something incoherent and bolted for the bathroom, pushing past tables and nearly knocking over a waiter in my desperate attempt to escape. I barely made it. What happened in that bathroom is something I will never speak of, but let's just say it wasn't pretty. I stayed in there for what felt like an eternity, trying to summon the courage to face reality. When I finally emerged, the damage was done. I walked back to the table in shame, my soul now permanently separated from my body. Emily gave me a sympathetic smile, which somehow made it worse. My friends were still laughing, someone had tweeted about it, and just like that, my chances with the girl of my dreams evaporated into the night. But wait, there's more. Because the universe wasn't done with me yet. I wish I could tell you that the nightmare ended when I came out of that diner bathroom, but no. The universe wasn't done with me yet. If anything, it was just getting started. When I finally mustered the courage to leave the bathroom, I prayed that maybe, just maybe, everyone had moved on. Maybe another embarrassing moment had taken place in my absence. Someone dropping food on themselves, a spilled drink, anything to shift the attention away from my personal horror show. Nope. The moment I stepped back into the diner, all eyes at my table turned to me. My friends? Still laughing. Emily? Trying her best to suppress a smirk, but her eyes betrayed her amusement. And then, there was him. The waiter I had almost bulldozed over on my way to the bathroom was standing there, holding a tray, staring at me like I had just personally ruined his entire shift. "You okay, man?" he asked, way too loudly. I wanted to evaporate. I muttered something about being fine and slid into my seat, hyper-aware of Emily sitting right next to me. Her knee lightly bumped against mine under the table, and my brain, despite everything, still managed to short-circuit at the contact. Then she did something unexpected. She leaned in slightly and said, "You sure?" That was intense. I was too embarrassed to even make eye contact. Yeah, stomach just, didn't agree with me, I guess. "Happens to the best of us," she said, and to my absolute disbelief, she smiled at me, like genuinely smiled. Now listen. At this point, my social status was hanging by a thread. My dignity had been publicly executed. I had just become the main character of the most humiliating dinner event in history, but somehow, Emily was still talking to me. I had a fleeting moment of hope. Maybe, just maybe, this wasn't a complete disaster after all. Then the check arrived. I reached into my pocket, pulled out my wallet, and immediately realized something horrifying. I didn't have enough money. See, I had calculated the cost of my meal beforehand, but I had completely forgotten about tax and tip. I was short, very short, and I had no backup plan. No emergency cash, no card, nothing. Panic set in. My mind raced for solutions. Could I pretend I forgot my wallet? No, I just pulled it out. Could I run? No, I had already used up my one escape attempt for the night. Could I quietly Venmo request someone at the table? Maybe, but that would require drawing attention to myself again, and I physically could not handle that. I was screwed. And then, as if my humiliation wasn't complete enough, Emily noticed. She must have seen my face drop because she tilted her head and asked, "Everything okay?" I froze. My body refused to move. I was actively fighting the urge to spontaneously combust. Before I could even attempt to form words, one of my friends, who had definitely caught on to my financial crisis, grinned and said, "Dude, are you short on cash?" The entire table turned to look at me. I think my soul left my body. I stammered something about math being hard, but it was too late. The damage was done. Emily, perfect, intimidatingly gorgeous Emily, looked at me for a second, then reached into her bag, pulled out some cash, and handed it to the waiter. "I got it," she said casually, like she wasn't completely shattering my pride into a million pieces. My brain malfunctioned. I should have thanked her and moved on. I should have accepted my defeat with grace. Instead, I panicked, and I said, I'll pay you back." "It's fine," she shrugged. "Really." No, I insist," I blurted, my voice cracking. "Let me just, I'll find a way to—" "Dude," my friend interrupted, laughing, "just take the win." Everyone laughed. I wanted to die again. Emily gave me an amused look as if I were the strangest person she had ever encountered, and I knew, that any microscopic chance I might have had with her was now officially dead. We left the diner shortly after, and I barely said a word. My pride had been stomped on, set on fire, and thrown into the void. But because the universe really wanted to destroy me, there was still one more final blow waiting for me that night. As we were all saying our goodbyes, Emily turned to me and said, "Hey, thanks for making tonight interesting." Then she winked at me and walked away. If you thought my humiliation was over, oh no, the universe had a lot more in store for me. After Emily's devastatingly casual wink, I spent the entire ride home replaying every single moment of the night in my head, analyzing every humiliating detail. I barely spoke to my friends, who were still snickering at my expense. The only thing that kept me going was the hope that maybe this would all just be a funny story one day. That was before I checked my phone. The group chat had exploded. My friends had wasted no time immortalizing my shame. There were texts, memes, and worst of all, videos, multiple angles of my mad dash to the bathroom, slow motion replays. Someone had even added dramatic music. I wanted to disappear. But then I saw a notification, a private message from Emily. My hands shook as I opened it. What could she possibly have to say? A final nail in my coffin? A pity message? My stomach twisted as I read her words. "Hey, sorry if I embarrassed you back there. I thought you handled it well. It was kind of cute." I blinked. Cute? Was this some kind of elaborate psychological torture? Or was she actually being nice? I sat there overthinking every possible response for a solid 10 minutes before finally typing, "Thanks. Didn't think I'd survive it. TBH. Her reply came almost instantly. "Survive what? The dinner? Or me?" My brain short-circuited. Was she flirting with me? Number, that couldn't be right. This had to be a trap, or a joke, or a, haha, just messing with you. But seriously, let's hang out sometime. I had fun. At this point, I was convinced that I had entered an alternate reality where my suffering had somehow worked in my favor. My friends, of course, did not believe me when I told them. I had to screenshot the messages just to prove it. "Dude," one of them finally said, shaking his head, "she has to be trolling you. There's no way." I didn't know what to believe, but a few days later Emily texted me again, and we made plans. And that's when I realized my most embarrassing moment wasn't over yet. It was just beginning. I know what you're thinking. There's no way this story can get any worse, or better, or weirder. But trust me, even I wasn't prepared for how this all ended. After Emily's unexpected message, we made plans to hang out. Not an official date, but something close. Just two people grabbing coffee. Low stakes, right? Wrong. I showed up 15 minutes early, determined not to mess this up. I rehearsed casual conversation in my head, checked my reflection in every window, and triple-checked my phone to make sure I didn't have any unread messages saying, "Actually, I changed my mind." She arrived exactly on time, looking effortlessly cool, while I was already sweating through my shirt. "Hey," she greeted me with a smile. "Still in one piece after the other night?" I laughed, trying to seem unfazed. "Barely." We ordered our drinks and sat down, and for the first time in forever, things felt normal, like I hadn't completely ruined my chances with her. We talked about everything: movies, music, childhood horror stories, none of which could top mine. She even confessed to a few embarrassing moments of her own, which made me feel slightly less like a walking disaster. For a moment, I thought, maybe I can pull this off. Maybe she actually likes me. And then it happened, the moment that would truly seal my fate as the most cursed person on the planet. I reached for my drink, and somehow I knocked it over. Not just onto the table, not just onto my lap, onto Emily. It was like time slowed down. The iced coffee spilled all over her jeans, splattering her sweater. Gasps echoed from the people around us. A barista dropped a tray. Somewhere in the distance, a dog whimpered, erst was, frozen. Emily stared at me. I stared at her. My soul attempted to leave my body for the second time in a week. "Oh my God," I choked out. I'm so sorry." She looked down at herself, then back at me, and I prepared for the death sentence. But then she laughed. "Dude," she said, shaking her head, "you have the worst luck." I didn't know whether to apologize again or crawl under the table and wait for the earth to swallow me whole. "I swear this isn't a normal thing for me," I sputtered. "Uh-huh," she smirked, standing up. "Good thing I don't scare easy." She grabbed some napkins and started dabbing at the mess, still laughing while I was dying inside. Come on, she said, tossing the soaked napkins aside. I need to go change. You're coming with me. What? To my place, she said casually. You owe me dry clothes. I nearly blacked out. Emily was inviting me over. After this, after I had officially cemented myself as the most humiliating person in her life? Are you serious? She grinned. Dead serious. And that's how I ended up in Emily's apartment, standing awkwardly in her living room while she changed in the other room, wondering if this was real life or some cruel fever dream. You can sit, she called out from behind the door. I don't bite. Right, yeah, cool, I mumbled, lowering myself onto the couch like I was disarming a bomb. A minute later, she reappeared, fresh clothes on, looking even more effortlessly beautiful than before. Crisis averted, she said, stretching. Now, we need to talk. My stomach dropped. About... She tilted her head, watching me carefully. You really don't see it, do you? See what? She sighed. Then, out of nowhere, she walked right up to me, grabbed my face, and kissed me. I short-circuited. By the time my brain rebooted, she was already pulling away, smirking at my absolute wreck of an expression. Took you long enough to figure it out, she teased. You, I... Words? Gone. She laughed. Relax, you're a walking disaster, but you're my walking disaster. And that, dear readers, is how the most humiliating night of my life somehow turned into the best thing that ever happened to me.